It is Lauren Vena, the cover and feature artist with Bella Magazine. Welcome back to Bella TV. James, please introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, it's James Vincent. I am a makeup artist here in New York City. I am a makeup artist who does a lot of education and events and consults for a large number of brands. And yeah, I've been doing it for a very long time. So very excited to be here with Bella.
So we love you. And the main reason why I wanted to have you on is to talk about the incredible makeup show that you do. And it was a little different this year. Let's
Yeah,
talk about that.
yeah. Well, I'm so excited to be doing this with you, Lauren, because I think you and I have known each other for a while and you know the show. And it is such a passion project for me. You know, at this point in my career, I've been doing makeup for over 25 years. And whether I have worked in fashion or editorial or celebrity, I always say my legacy won't be a magazine cover or a music video. Like, hopefully it will be a makeup artist who came to one of my events or an event that I'm part of and pulled in some information or found a mentor or some information or inspiration that made them keep moving forward as a makeup artist. And so the makeup show is the largest pro-only makeup event in the US. And we have been, now this would have been our 17th or 18th year. I actually am a consultant with the show, which many people are surprised by. Everyone thinks I own it. But Shelly Tagar owns the show, and I'm the director of education and artist relations. And so I work with her and the team to make sure that the brands we're bringing in fit into a pro kit and to develop education that we feel is timely and meets the needs of artists all over. And this year, it was our first virtual The Makeup Show, and very different than anything we've done. We love our in-person events, but this was really phenomenal for us because if you know me in the industry, I spend a lot of time talking about representation and access and diversity and inclusion. And one of the tough things about the show, especially the New York show, is it's very expensive to get to New York and stay in New York. So because we did the show virtually and because it was such an affordable price, we had artists from all over the world, 5 different continents presenting at the show. And in the audience, we had artists from every time zone. We had Australia, Tokyo, Shanghai, Berlin, Zurich, Manchester, London, Vancouver, all over South and Central America, all over Africa. It was really
That was incredible.
very different celebration.
I have to interrupt you because there's so many things in there that I have to
I
say
know, I'm
being a part
sorry.
of it. No, it was amazing because being at the virtual show, that was one of the coolest things ever at the virtual part when you were like, this person's from here. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Um, Going back to before being that in-person makeup shows, like you said, we've known each other for years. And I remember, I can even get emotional about this. I've been in the industry for 20 years and I have not, I think we met, it had to be 10 years ago, but I built my personal makeup artist kit at the makeup show. So like I remember, and I don't know, we could go way back, but do you remember Mac way back in the day sold those like kabuki kits? They were maybe 400 bucks. It was like a square box.
I
And I
still
was like,
have mine.
yes, now it's my daughter's.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm so cool. I'm going to bring this to my client's house. I could fit maybe like a couple things in there
Yeah.
because when you're a makeup artist, it's not that practical. And
Yeah.
I sat in one of the classes, how to build your kit. And I remember going, oh my gosh, this, and I used to go to the 2-day event because the first day I would sit through hours of education and the bridal one and, the natural face and like all these things, build your kit. And then the second day, all I wanted to do was shop. So just that. And then the other thing is being with my friends. I would go there and have that connection and that network with the other artists that I used to work with years ago. So the
Yeah.
fact, the community that you, and Shelley have built for artists to get together, it is like such a special thing. So I had to interrupt you on that just because of what
Oh,
the
I
show does.
and that's the that is definitely the inspiration for what we're trying to do. It's inspiration, it's education, and it's connection and access. We want people to be able to meet the brands and the pro people behind the brands. But I started my career at Mac in the 90s before Estee Lauder. I think when I started with Mac, there were two stores like on the East Coast. And that community of Mac artists in the 90s were my peers and people that taught me. But that sense of community was so important. And so when Shelley created the show with Michael DeVellis from the Powder Group, who had come from Mac, I think that was part of it. And then Shelley took over the show from Michael over 10 years ago. And she has such a desire since she's taken the show over, it's grown into different markets and it really has become about that community connection and that piece of allowing artists to figure out who they are and what they need. And so in a traditional show now, we have over 100 educational sessions that are all included in the price of the ticket, and over 150 brands in New York City, all offering discount. And with the virtual show, we had over 100 sessions available for education that you could rewatch anytime, as well as 17 live sessions.
That was
And
amazing.
the 60 brands for the virtual show. So, I think it's just a way for people to do what you said, build their kit and get those better than pro discounts, but also sometimes only other artists understand what it is that you're going through. One panel that we did was just working moms. The question came up like, how are you navigating this as a bridal artist who has had such a hit in their business and needs to rebuild? And how are you doing it when you've got like kids at home? you know
That was one of the best one. It was amazing.
it was, yeah, right. People were like, ding 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 ding. Yeah.
It was in the chat, and that's what you said, talking from other, because again, and that was with my next question, but how you did it so amazing virtually. I mean, listen, we all have been on how many Zooms and how many uh, virtual Zooms, and the way you guys managed it, it was so easy and so the connection was still there. How did you do that? Like, who?
Well, that was Shelly and the team. I,
Okay.
I said when we jumped on today, I said, I'm very fortunate because I'm the person in the front a lot of the
Right.
time, so I get all of the applause and the complaints, but I get all the applause. Shelly and the team really are the people that did that, and so Neve in our office and Sophia, who so many of you know from coming to the shows, and Shelly really took this platform and made it work for our industry because the people who kind of were behind the platform, they don't do shows like this with education or any of that. So Shelly and Neve really worked to kind of put it together and worked with the programmers and the people there to create something that was easy to navigate and that was accessible in different ways. I almost enjoyed it better than a live show because at a live show, I'm running so much.
Yeah.
I don't really get to meet people. And here with I think it was a $39 ticket. And for 7 days, you could go in and speak to any of the artists, any of the brands, go into their classes and then get one-on-one sessions with a Danessa Myricks or a James Malloy, go in and sit through a lecture or a presentation and then email them and say, oh, I have a question about this, or message them in the platform and say, here's my bio. If you ever need an assistant, here's a link to my portfolio. That kind of access was very important to Shelley when she was designing it. And I think that was what was so exciting about what happened here. Whether you were that artist in Tel Aviv or Toronto, you could come on, make a new friend in the chat, connect to them,
Yes.
and then go into another group together, take a class together with your new virtual friend. And I just feel like it celebrated community in a very different way.
And it
at a
has to
time when
say,
people
oh,
feel isolated, you know?
yeah, of course, of course. And it says a lot about you all that so many brands are involved. Like
Yeah,
so many brands are always with you. I feel like you grow each year, you have more brands that are involved in your show.
yeah.
Like
We
more,
and I think it's also for me, I'm kind of, I think Shelley has the reputation as the tough one, but for me, I don't get caught up in celebrity. I work with celebrity.
yeah,
I It doesn't impress me. So when I look at a brand, I really hope to know that their product meets the needs of the professional working makeup artist. And so over the years, the show has become a place not only to shop for discount, but to meet the owners of the brands, the international artists, the people behind it, the people in charge of the pro, and then to be able to get discounts that don't exist. So
yes.
we've seen at the show in the last 16 years major product launches. Smashbox launched their primer at the makeup show.
Hmm.
Lancome launched their makeup remover at the makeup show. Pat McGrath and Smashbox and Yves Saint Laurent launched their pro programs at the makeup show. NARS launched their pro program at the makeup show and launched all of their palettes. So I think brands see it as a place where they can share newness with a community that's going to be very supportive and excited. And what Shelley and I try and do is step back and say, okay, how do we have a balance of these big brands, as well as some new brands that maybe you haven't heard of? So our focus with the show for the last few years, and really for 16 years, but there's a language for it now that didn't exist, where we talk about amplification. So we really try and focus on female-owned brands, Black-owned brands, brands owned by artists of color, queer-owned brands, brands that we know need the support of the pro community. And then we also balance that by bringing in a Pat McGrath Labs or a Kevin Aquan or a Danessa Myricks. So you're getting new and exciting, as well as some of the brands that we have all depended on for years. So
It's so amazing. And it's also great that you guys, like you said, you just named a bunch. If I'm watching a class, you always say your favorite brand. Like you won't stick with one.
yeah,
You'll say, oh, this is an oldie, but I love it. This is brand new. This, if you're working with a bride, you have to use this because it will stay on for 19 hours,
yeah.
completely waterproof. Or, you'll sometimes say, I'm not a fan of this. I don't really use this. It's always honesty. It's always,
It's essential. Shelley knows that I will not speak about a brand or allow them into the show if it's not a brand that I don't think fits in my kit, but also if I don't think they have integrity.
my
So
favorite thing about you. Sorry, my favorite thing about you.
we do try and really make sure that that's happening. And there are some other things, like I don't always have control over what another brand is talking about, which is very difficult because I like control. But we want to make sure that all of the brands that we're working with are looking at things like sustainability, or looking at things like um, representation in who they're hiring. And it is a little difficult for me when I don't always see people working at 100%, or maybe they've aligned themselves with an artist who I don't agree with, I don't know,
Yeah,
some of their
no,
ethics or something.
absolutely.
But I really try to be very vocal about it, and I really try and create a community where people can have different opinions and conversations and debates. We
Yeah.
have this year we launched, I'm sorry, I'm such a talker,
No,
but
I love it. Talk, talk. Me too. Go, talk away.
this year we launched a new program called We Need to Have a Conversation that was going to be in every show in 2020. And we did it virtually at the makeup shows. But we are going to be talking about topics that are not easy, like amplification of Black artists in the beauty industry, and how are we looking at Latin beauty, and making sure that we're moving forward in an inclusive way. What is the difference between inspiration and appropriation? How is non-binary beauty affecting, the beauty industry, and are we doing the best we can? We're going to continue to tackle a lot of these tough topics. And then we have another new program called Girls Interrupting, which is about building female bosses in the beauty
Yes.
industry. In an industry where the most of the clients and most of the artists are female or female identified, we don't necessarily see the number of executives, the number of female identified photographers, the number of,
Right.
so we want to try and build representation in that way as well. And then we balance that off with a class on airbrushing or easy
Right.
effects or building your bridal business, because I think that that well-rounded, you know, approach is so important to being an artist. If we're going to use the title artist, which in English we're called makeup artist, if
Mhm.
we're going to use that title artist, I think it is a political title.
Absolutely.
It's a title that has artists have always moved society forward, and we are artists, but in such a personal way, where
Mhm.
we are not only creating, but we're connecting to people and all of their vulnerabilities, all of their insecurities. If you're a bridal, for me, is the toughest work in the industry. I do not do it because I'm lazy, but to work with someone on the most important day of their life and
Absolutely.
deal with their insecurities and the craziness of their families and all of that,
Mhm.
it requires a very special person. And so we want to make sure that our artists in every area are prepared not only with what's in their kit, but what's in their heart, what they're putting forward. Um,
So
and that's
true.
very important to me.
That's
So
so true.
I'm such a talker.
No, I love everything you said is incredible. That's why I love you. And I remember you once said that bridal. Actually, it was you said again during the show and I laughed because you're like, I don't do bridal.
I'm so lazy. And honestly, it's hard. I like to be the center of attention. So like I have done bridal for like a few, like I did my cousin's wedding, and then I was like, oh man, I think I forgot to powder her. Like what? But it's so stressful for me because I don't work in that field. And I always say, like, bridal people who do private client makeup, whether it's in retail or bridal, you have to be the best of the best,
Yeah,
because you have to develop your eye and your skill set for a makeup that is not only has to last all day while someone is drinking and dancing and kissing and doing all that, but it's being photographed, it's being filmed, people are this close to it.
absolutely.
It requires a very special artist. And then on top of that, there's the emotional that comes
It's
with
the
private.
emotion. The emotion is a whole other
Yeah.
thing. All right.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
The
babe.
whole Bella family is giving you a big hug, virtual hug, and we love you
Thank
and
you. I
everything
love
you
you
do.
guys. And if you're that artist that's watching and you feel disconnected, we're your family that's here. We get it better than anybody. Lauren and I are here. That Bella family is here, keeping you moving forward. Because when things get difficult, that's when we remind ourselves that we are artists, and that means we are constantly looking at the culture in the world around us and doing what we need to do. So thank you, babe.
Love it. Thank you. Have the best day.
Thank you.